Early voting in Florida officially starts today. In more than 30 counties, voters can cast their ballots for the first time on several college campuses. At the University of South Florida in Tampa, students started voting pretty early this morning. It's where we find NBC's road warrior, Ali Vitale, who's just down the street from that polling place. And Ali, fill us in on what you're seeing.
So we're actually here inside the Joe Biden event. He's here rallying for Andrew Gillum, who's the Democrat running for governor, and Bill Nelson, who's the incumbent Democratic senator here up for re-election, running against the current governor of the state here, Rick Scott. What better way to take the pulse of the room than to talk to students at this university? We're joined here by some students at USF, and I want to talk to you a little bit about why you're here and what are the issues that are most important to you in this election.
Okay, I'm here because I really love Gillum's stance on a lot of things that are reflective of our generation mostly. He cares about the things that are now, about the things for the future, such as climate change and things that we do firmly believe in as students who are about to embark on our journey as professionals and adults and people who may be going into politics themselves. So I really love that about him.
So last night there was a debate, and one of the key questions was about President Donald Trump's role in this race. What are your thoughts about how Trump impacts Florida in this election?
Yeah, so Trump definitely has an impact on how Florida views the governors and the elects. So I feel like Donald Trump's tweets and things, they affect how people feel about the governors, but actually I really appreciated how Andrew Gillum approached the situation and talked about trying to be as productive and efficient with Donald Trump's support, but also keeping a distance from his policies and things that he doesn't necessarily agree on, which I think was a really good way to say he's going to accept help if they offer help, but he's also not going to try and endorse things he doesn't believe in, which I really appreciate.
And so there's this overarching idea that young voters might be apathetic. Are you seeing that on this campus?
No, not this time around. I think people are really ready for something different, and I voted in the 2016 election, so I'm really ready for something new and different, and I feel like there's a new energy in people, and younger people are realizing that they do have a voice and they actually have, you know, power to change what they don't like, and they're very active on social media, so this is their chance to really put it into effect and do something.
And Hallie, that's something that we heard from folks as we were working the line as well, is that they're not only engaged themselves, but they're looking to get their neighbors, their friends, their coworkers, friends at school, everyone else out to the polls. And for Democrats especially, the idea of turning out the vote, maybe voters who haven't voted before, will be key to them in this election.
Ali Vitale there inside the arena. Ali, thank you much. Dan Maduri hosts the syndicated radio show News Talk Florida and is joining us now. Dan, it's great to see you.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So, new polling shows Andrew Gillum is up roughly 12 points, I think, over Ron DeSantis there. What are your listeners telling you about this debate from last night as we look ahead to that event between Biden and Gillum later on today? What are you hearing?
Well, the debate was absolutely nasty. They were trading blows the entire time they were up there, both DeSantis and Gillum. They were going back and forth, and frankly, you warm up to things like that, but I guess with a condensed debate schedule, only having one more to go, they decided to get into the nit and grit of it all. So they decided just to start attacking each other right off the bat. You've got DeSantis, who wants to paint Gillum as someone who's just weak on crime, and you've got Gillum, who wants to really back senior citizens, Social Security, and Medicaid and Medicare.
Are the voters who are calling into your show, Dan, do they like that? Did they like to see that fire and fury, if you will?
Yeah, they do. They want to see the dust up. They want to see the passion. They want to see the anger and the rage there because they are foaming at the mouth. Both Republicans and Democrats, they're truly enraged this cycle. They're truly enraged for this midterms. So, yes, I think that they both embodied both their parties well.
Ron DeSantis has obviously been very open about his embrace of Donald Trump. He had that sort of now very infamous campaign ad that showed his kids sort of playfully building a wall, and he was reading them the art of the deal, et cetera. But both candidates were asked if they thought that President Trump was a good role model, and listen to DeSantis' answer here.
Do you think President Trump is a good role model for the children of Florida?
Well, Jake, my wife and I were poking a little fun at ourselves because of the way that campaign was going, and I'm proud of my family, though. I don't actually read The Art of the Deal to my son Mason. He's a great kid. He smiles at anything, but that's not necessarily his cup of tea. So here's what I know. I was very passionate about moving our American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Mr. Mayor?
Confused by the question.
The question was whether or not he thinks President Trump is a good role model for the children of Florida.
That's what I thought originally. I got confused. So, no, he's not.
So, not a lot of ways to characterize DeSantis' answer other than a dodge, it seemed to me.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that?
Well, clearly President Trump's not a good role model for children, but I will say this. If you remember correctly, during the 2016 re-election, Hillary Clinton ran great ads painting Donald Trump as a bad role model, as children watching. There was that one that stood out where young kids were just watching the TV and all you could hear was Donald Trump's voice, yet that seemingly had no effect, especially here in the state of Florida. That ended up turning around and voting for Donald Trump. So I don't know how much traction there is when trying to paint Donald Trump as a role model for the children of the state of Florida. I don't know if there are any votes there for that.
You mentioned Hillary Clinton. Tomorrow, Andrew Gillum is campaigning with her. She obviously lost Florida in 2016. But what do you think? Does she help Gillum here? How does she counter Donald Trump's support of Ron DeSantis, if at all, in your view?
I think she helps him because she does her effect on being able to kind of assuage the Democratic establishment. Remember, I mean, Andrew Gillum is this Democrat individual person who has a lot of views that people look at and say that's not moderate Democrat. So he is needing to kind of cater to the establishment, old regime, and old base. And I think that's where Hillary Clinton comes into play, where she can kind of calm the fears and kind of put them into a position where Gillum does, in fact, seem more mainstream.
Before I let you go, let's talk about gun control here, because Congressman DeSantis was also asked why he would have vetoed the gun legislation that passed in the wake of what happened in Parkland, obviously there in Florida. And I want to play you what he had to say.
I think the blanket restriction on age is going to get struck down by the courts. I'm a big supporter of the school security. I think we need to do more.
The congressman was against the piece of legislation because he is wholly owned by the NRA. He's not going to stand up to the National Rifle Association. That's why they're running all these ads against me.
Dan, how much do you see the issue of gun control playing into this race?
Well, if you're Andrew Gillum, you better hope that gun control does not play an issue in this race, because Andrew Gillum, he knows as well as I do that the nickname for Florida is not the Sunshine State, but it is the Gunshine State. People here love their guns. We probably have more guns per capita than any other state other than Texas right now. So I would say that I would stay away from guns. I would get as far away from it as possible if I'm Andrew Gillum. And you can label NRA as the boogeyman. That's fine. That's everything. But you don't want to go down that path. That path is going to cost you votes.
Radio host Dan Majori, thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Good.
President